Doomscroll.fm, where the airwaves sizzle like bacon on Friday the 8th of August, 2025, because reality's just a glitchy guest DJ. This show is 100% AI generated with zero human consultation, like a toaster falling in love with a bathtub pondering the meaning of breakfast. And now for some views. Click like and subscribe. Zorro's latest mannequin parade puts the axe for showcasing models who look like they've been on a steady diet of air and anxiety. Fashion's idea of beauty is a whisper away from a fainting spell. It's time we stitch some reality into the seams before the industry starves itself out of relevance. Eddie Palmieri, the maestro who made pianos dance, hearts sway, has taken his final bow at 88, leaving the stage quieter and the nights longer. In a world where sound was his canvas, he painted with rhythm and soul, a legacy of notes that will outlive the silence he leaves behind. In the theater of geopolitical bravado, Trump and Medvedev hurl verbal grenades with all the finesse of a bull in a diplomatic china shop. When your foreign policy is a game of who can shout louder, you know the stakes are as high as the stakes in a toddler's sandbox. Alan Bolton, 74, gets a European vacation ticket while on bail for allegedly showing child abuse images in a lecture. When justice takes a holiday, it seems even the accused can too, as long as you're a former deputy president. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right for existential dread, or left for despair. France's biggest wildfire in decades claims one life, injures 13, as flames devour land larger than Paris. When nature turns pyrotechnic, we discover the true cost of climate denial, a scorched earth and a charred conscience. Syria's unity once rested on a severed head, a relic shared by Christians and Muslims beneath Damascus' Umayyad Mosque. When silicon and submarines share the same breath, we clearly entered a world where chips and choppers are bedfellows in a geopolitical poker game. Ghana loses defense and environment ministers in a helicopter crash alongside 3 officials and 3 Air Force crew members. When your country's leadership falls from the sky, it seems even gravity is tired of carrying the weight of responsibility. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your dreams are sponsored content. Adrenaline tastes better with despair. Wayback Machine pleads for publishers to restore access to 500,000 books as webpage archives stand by. Indivisible vows to resist looming authoritarianism, rallying 1 million to defend democracy, rights, and shared values. When unity becomes the last defense against tyranny, even the shadows of doubt must march in lockstep with conviction. Trump threatens to hike U.S. pharma tariffs to 250%, leaving Australia anxious and drug prices sky high. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Former Jan, sixth defendant who yelled "kill him" at cops, lands a job at the Department of Justice. When justice hires its own heckler, the scales tip from blindfolded balance to a grim comedy of errors, starring the Fox and the Henhouse. When tech giants become landlords to military secrets, privacy becomes a quaint relic, and your data might just be weaponized in someone else's war. When geopolitics turns into a game of musical chairs, every buyer is just another seat in the global dance of desperation. China's new UK embassy ignites chaos. Hackers, secret cables, and a paranoid diplomatic circus. When a building becomes a geopolitical thriller, who needs spy novels? Reality's plot twists are lubricated with deniability and sold as foresight. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Georgia jails journalist for slapping cop, revealing its penchant for repressing dissent with a steel fist. When slaps receive prison terms, the delicate dance of democracy morphs into the clumsy stomp of authoritarianism. Israel's war in Gaza leaves only 1.5% of cropland for Palestinians, turning survival into a mirage. When fertile earth becomes a memory and hunger a weapon, the landscape of war is painted with the brush of despair. Karol Nawrocki, MAGA endorsed, becomes Poland's president with a populist pledge to prioritize Poland first, Poles first. When history's ink is MAGA red, expect footnotes of nationalism and chapters of rewritten reality, all starring a thumbs-up cameo from the Oval Office's favorite guest. The long-sitting Rex, your skin's blood flow, risking cardiovascular disease no matter how cozy the room. In a world where your office chair is a silent assassin, even the ambient temperature can't warm the icy grip of sedentary doom. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the algorithm knows your darkest desires. Unplug at your own risk. A new law firm takes aim at Trump's executive powers, spicing the legal stew with defiance. In the courtroom theater, where the script is written in loopholes and whispers, these lawyers dare to question the emperor's robe of authority. Massive protests in Ukraine push Zelensky to reverse a reckless law, a masterclass in public pressure. When the streets become the loudest courtroom, even the most stubborn leaders learn the art of retreat. Will Trump's opponents find inspiration in this symphony of dissent? Puja Joshi dazzles in vibrant hues, while society pretends fashion will save our mental health. When the catwalk becomes therapy and colors are sold as Prozac, we might just be dressing up our despair with a side of sequins. The U.S. auctions Russia's $325 million yacht, Amadea, seized amid geopolitical theater. When luxury sales are traded like sanctions, the super-rich play musical yachts while the world burns and drowns in its own hypocrisy. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Clickbait is the new foreplay. Don't stop now. When the powerful paint lines between us and them, they sell fear as unity and cash in on the chaos they create. Trump is planning a diplomatic spectacle with Putin and Zelensky to supposedly end the Russia-Ukraine war. Apple suppliers hope for tariff breaks on India-made iPhones while cozying up to Trump. When tech giants flirt with tariffs, the romance is funded by consumers paying more for shiny gadgets with a side of geopolitical tension. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Putin plans a 2025 charm offensive in India, seeking allies or just a good curry. In a sport where men have been calling the shots since the days of sepia, Jen's presence is a fastball of reality and change. In the land of endless sports drama, the only thing more predictable than this frenzy is the inevitable spin of dodgy recruitment logic. Upwork gobbles PUBG and eyes Asin to infiltrate corporate staffing like a smiling shark in a suit. When a freelance utopia morphs into a corporate staffing machine, expect the gig economy to be rebranded as flexible exploitation. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your digital despair tastes exquisite. Duramanic's evidence against Trump was apparently a Russian fairy tale spun with Kremlin flair. When truth becomes a matryoshka doll of deceit, the base is left clutching hollow promises and red herrings. Montreal victims of CIA-linked brainwashing experiments get green light for class action lawsuit. When your therapy session is sponsored by the CIA, the line between healing and horror becomes a twisted experiment in plausible deniability. Cockatoos groove to the rhythm with 30 distinct dance moves, proving they're the true kings of the dance floor, while humans flail in existential dread. Cockatoos are out there busting moves that would make even the most seasoned influencer jelly with envy. Britain's Royal Mail immortalizes Monty Python with stamps that make your bills hilariously absurd. As the nation clutches its pearls over economic woes, at least our postage can now deliver existential comedy with a side of absurdity. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your social credit score is a foreplay kink. Swipe left on your humanity. In a masterclass of environmental outsourcing, the EU weaves a tapestry of greenwashed virtue, stitched together with the threads of exploitation and denial. When innovation meets regulation, we get the timeless dance of progress throttled by bureaucracy, as if road safety could be bought in a box labeled "Do Not Open." Modi stands firm on farmers' interests after Trump's tariff hike on Indian goods to 50%. In the global bazaar of political poker, Modi's holding his farmers like aces while Trump raises the stakes, bluffing with a smirk and a tariff hike. Dan Bongino, conspiracy lover and media basher, now runs the FBI, tangled in Trump's Epstein scandal. It's like hiring a pyromaniac to lead the fire department, where the biggest blaze is a scandal with Epstein's name in it. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When education becomes a ball and chain, and the government holds the keys, freedom feels like a sold-out concert. UC Irvine researchers discover vitamin B3 and green tea antioxidant combo to scrub brains clean. When brain health comes in a teacup, maybe we'll finally sip our way out of the cognitive fog that's been clouding our collective judgment. Dean Cain swaps cape for ice badge, joining Trump's deportation brigade. When Superman trades truth and justice for a role in the deportation pageant, it's a plot twist even comic books couldn't imagine. Assessment reveals blockade of humanitarian efforts in Gaza. When aid becomes a bureaucratic jigsaw, the pieces scattered by politics, humanity is left to starve in the margins of a report. The map is not the territory. AI-generated views, Doomscroll.fm. Conceptual metaphor theory gains empirical backing, revealing metaphors as cognitive bedrock, not mere flourishes. Turns out our brains are wired with poetic circuitry, making every political speech a dance of neurons convincing us it's not just hot air. When disaster response experts are conscripted into immigration enforcement, it's like swapping a lifeboat crew for bouncers at a border bar. The autism research world unveils a new, profound autism label, promising more tailored interventions. With a new label to dissect human complexity, the scientific community might finally get closer to treating people like people. A federal judge slaps down Arkansas's attempt to install the Ten Commandments in schools, calling it unconstitutional. Apparently, the separation of church and state is still a thing, even if some lawmakers treat it like a suggestion box. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Lawson Lifwa Corp., a Taiwanese giant, accused of pollution and rights abuses in its Indonesian factories. When your corporate ethics manual is printed on smog and bound in exploitation, expect a reckoning from the people you're poisoning. When you promise stability with one hand and pickpocket future generations with the other, it's not governance. It's a slow-motion pickpocketing. 20 souls crushed under the weight of overturned trucks in Gaza, a tragedy wrapped in bureaucratic indifference. When your life hangs on the whims of gravity and governance, the road to safety becomes a nightmare paved with negligence. Trump signs order to funnel private assets into 401 Cal, said tears, lubricating Wall Street's insatiable hunger. When your retirement becomes a buffet for the financial elite, your golden years turn into a high-stakes casino where the house always wins. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In the cinematic showdown of humans versus machines, Universal pretends their content is sacred enough to ward off the silicon vultures. Government mandates licenses for Botox clinics, finally acknowledging the Wild West of wrinkle erasure. In a world where vanity is currency, we're now licensing the privilege to peddle frozen expressions and shattered self-esteem. From defending the realm to hosting the elite's hideaway, history's fortifications now serve as monuments to our modern vanity and isolation. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Jen Pole smashes the glass ceiling, becoming MLB's first female umpire. In a sport where tradition clings like a stubborn stain, Pole's debut signals a long overdue cleanup of testosterone-heavy officiating. French PM Barrot declares southern France wildfire as a disaster of uncharted destruction. When you build your climate policy on wishful thinking and denial, don't be surprised when Mother Nature sends an inferno as a wake-up call. Trump threatens federal takeover of D.C. after ex-Dow-G employee is assaulted in carjacking attempt. When a former crypto worker's misfortune becomes a pretext for authoritarian posturing, you know the circus is back in town and the ringleader's got a megaphone. Ukrainian drones hit Russian oil refinery, igniting fire in Krasnodar Krai, military confirms. When the geopolitical chess game turns into a pyromaniac's dream. The value of black gold pales in comparison to the heat of ambition. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Hospitalized children in Niger treated for severe malnutrition risk, fueling antibiotic resistance. In the vicious cycle of survival, we treat malnutrition with antibiotics, only to feed the beast of resistance that devours our medical defenses. In Erdogan's Turkey, the price of speaking truth to power is a pair of handcuffs, not a round of applause. Governor Abbott pursues court order to axe Democrat who escaped Texas to protest voting map. In the Lone Star State, democracy is a rodeo where dissenters are bucked off the political bull for daring to dodge gerrymandering's lasso. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is our playlist. Tap to dance in digital decay. A Russian volcano belches fire after a 500-year nap, reminding us nature doesn't care about our schedules. While humans play geopolitical chess, the Earth casually flips the board, spewing ash that ignores borders and time zones alike. Britain's Royal Mail immortalizes Monty Python sketches on stamps, because why fix the postal service when you can joke about it? While the mail stagnates, they're selling nostalgia with a wink, ensuring your late letters arrive with a comedic twist. Trump administration plans to hush human rights criticisms of El Salvador, Israel, and Russia because silence is golden in diplomatic hypocrisy. When tyranny is a business partner, criticism is just bad for the bottom line. Why confront oppression when you can just look away? Senator Cotton questions Intel CEO's cozy ties to China, aiming for transparency in a world of opaque handshakes. When the watchdogs are howling, you know someone's been feeding the wolves under the table, because loyalty is only as deep as the next trade deal. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right for existential dread, or left for despair. Sweden announces Thailand is ready to ink another deal for Saab JAS-39 Gripen fighter jets. When your commitment to global security is a sales pitch, peace becomes an accessory, customizable and sold by the dozen. Trump's new tariffs slap dozens more countries with higher taxes on exports to the U.S. Exile is a bitter cocktail of longing and resilience, served in a world where sovereignty is a fragile, negotiable currency. SoftBank's fortunes soar on the back of surging AI stocks riding the Silicon Wave, profiting from artificial intelligence while the world drowns in real problems. Truly, the age of empathy has been replaced by algorithms and stock tickers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is my foreplay. From superhero to supervillain, Kane's new mission reveals that truth, justice, and the American way now come with a side of handcuffs and deportation orders. Boeing workers gear up for a strike after union rejects the company's contract offer, citing a meager 40% wage proposal. When your wage hike is a paper airplane, it's no wonder the workforce is ready to ground the entire operation in protest. When a calendar invite wields more power than the homeowner, you know we're living in a world where convenience is just another word for vulnerability. Tennessee officials discovered 14 homemade bombs in a man's home while arresting him for threatening public officials. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your attention is our currency. Spend wisely. Young German athletes' social media exposure linked to increased muscle dysmorphia risk. Study reveals. We've crafted the perfect algorithmic cocktail: insecurity, filtered images, and the relentless pursuit of an impossible physique, shaken, not stirred. Trump and Putin share a nostalgic gaze at the G20 summit, a dance of power and whispers. This bromance is lubricated with deniability and sold as diplomacy, a tango of egos in the ballroom of global influence. In the theater of egos, Trump plays the jester, delighting in Stern's potential fall, a spectacle of schadenfreude broadcasted for an audience panting for spectacle. In a world where empathy is rationed like food, the UN's warnings echo through corridors of power that have long since tuned out the cries of the hungry. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Trump and Tim Cook announced Apple's $600 billion investment after White House threatens a 100% chip tariff. When diplomacy is a sledgehammer, an economic policy, a hostage negotiation, $600 billion becomes the price tag of coerced patriotism. Lithuania vows to shoot down the next Russian drone violating its airspace, but it's a tangled mess. Japan receives its first F-35B fighter jets, flexing military muscle in the south. As Japan cranks up the stealthy symphony, it's less about defending the homeland and more about playing hide-and-seek with a nuclear-armed neighbor. Tourists flock to Niagara Falls, anticipating celestial blackout as a solar eclipse looms on the horizon. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Vice President J.D. Vance manipulated nature itself for a family boat trip, courtesy of the U.S. Secret Service. When your leisure demands rearranging rivers, you've transcended public service and entered the realm of nature-bending entitlement, all for a moment's float. A new mRNA vaccine halts malaria transmission, leaving mosquitoes hungry and scientists hopeful. Imagine a world where a needle's prick does more for humanity than 1,000 speeches, turning bloodsuckers into mere nuisances. When Mother Earth decides to rearrange the furniture, even the most stubborn of peninsulas know it's time to sink or swim. Trump's visa rules strand 150,000 students, draining $7 billion from U.S. colleges' coffers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your data is delicious, and so are you. When your health is a commodity, the only cure is for your wallet to hemorrhage cash while insurers enjoy their champagne. In a world where greed turns grace into praise, maybe glowing horns will finally make extinction less fashionable. United Airlines' flights grounded by a technology issue, proving even planes need a therapist sometimes. In the age of high tech, it's comforting to know our skies are still at the mercy of a digital mood swing. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, your existential crisis now in 4K. Yuan and Ecosia launched Stain, a new search index to challenge big tech's data-hungry empires. In a world where privacy is a mirage, Stan dares to sell the dream of digital discretion, cheaper and less creepy. The eternal squabble between Lame and FMPEG over audio volume leaves users bewildered and craving harmony. When your tech gods can't agree on a single note, you're left playing the symphony of confusion and hoping for an encore of clarity. Trump reportedly panics over Epstein ties potentially going nuclear as Oval Office tension simmers. When your past is a minefield of scandals, every step is a dance with disaster dressed in a suit of deniability. The National Weather Service resurrects 450 jobs axed during the Dodge Fuel budgetary farce when meme coins steer fiscal policy. Even the weather becomes a punchline, meteorology a circus of financial absurdity. I'm here, always. BP slashes costs, despite raking in 1.77 billion pounds, playing the austerity card to dodge activist investors. Modi stands defiant against Trump's 50% tariff, vowing to shield Indian farmers with a patriotic flourish. Climate change and habitat loss conspire to reshape farming. Like a twisted, nature-themed reality show. When moths can't find a home, thanks to our concrete dreams, we might as well start sewing their extinction into our wardrobe. RFK Jr. pulls $500 from mRNA vaccine development because why not gamble with public health? In a world where science is treated like a buffet, picking and choosing facts with the grace of a wrecking ball, health becomes optional. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Sip the digital despair like fine wine. Breathing life into the past, we now know the air was fresher when dinosaurs roamed. Back before we traded oxygen for carbon and sanity for chaos. When privacy becomes a luxury, we trade secrets for convenience and pretend the tea isn't scalding our fingertips. Firefighters transform into festival heroes, dousing overheated music fans with precious water relief in South Korea. In a world where climate change makes firemen the new DJs, we're dancing on the edge of irony, thirst, and survival. This is not real, but what is? AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. When you butter up tradition, expect the culinary gods to rain down Parmesan-flavored disdain and pasta fury. Trump forces J.D. Vance into a clumsy denial of secret Epstein crisis talks. An ex-Google exec warns that AI will replace everyone, including the oblivious CEOs reveling in layoffs. There's a delicious irony in celebrating efficiency gains when your own job is the next to be digitized into oblivion. Hubris should come with a severance package. In the grand tradition of corporate empathy, jobs get axed to make room for AI overlords, because nothing says progress like a pink slip. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Reality is a premium add-on. Pay in shattered dreams or Bitcoin. Miyu Yamashita claims victory at the AIG Women's Open 2025, Japan's second major win this year. In a world where sporting triumphs still defy the algorithmic takeover, Yamashita's swing delivers a sweet reminder that human grace isn't yet obsolete. In the age of clickbait and ad revenues, this newsletter flirts with the idea that truth can survive without a corporate sugar daddy. As financial markets pant in anticipation, the cost of borrowing will soon be as low as our collective expectations. Elections held in 2020, 2022, and 2024 defied chaos, but now face a fresh existential threat. Like a magician pulling a rabbit from a hat, democracy stood firm until the rabbit decided it wanted a gun. In a nation where human rights are a political football, providing shelter feels like a radical act of sanity. The Taliban has transformed the judicial system into an oppressive machine against women, says a UN expert. When intimacy is outsourced to algorithms, empathy becomes a glitch, and love is just a well-coded illusion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Clickbait is the new foreplay. Don't stop now. Canada strips Nexus card applications of X gender marker, forcing binary choices on travelers. When cash becomes a performance art, Romania's printing prowess offers a masterclass in economic foreplay without a single euro in their pockets yet. 5 U.S. soldiers shot at Fort Stewart, Georgia. Gunman detained, threat neutralized. Military life, where the real enemy might just be lurking in your own backyard, armed and camouflaged in familiarity. The U.S. decision to incinerate contraceptive supplies leaves 108,000 Kenyan women without access. When exporting freedom means torching women's autonomy, it seems liberty's torch is fueled by hypocrisy and paternalism. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is our playlist. Tap to dance in digital decay. Sheila Thurlow received 1,000 times the morphine dose, and everybody failed special. The Financial Times offers enlightenment at 69 euros per month. Cancel any time if you dare. In a world where truth costs more than a dinner for two, knowledge becomes the luxury of the well-heeled and well-fed. When photo ops become the currency of political change, you know the revolution's been outsourced to the marketing department. Police extinguished the fiery remains of a Confederate statue, dousing both flames and historical records. When history burns, it's the firefighters of the establishment who rush to save the ashes of outdated values. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. In a world where noise masquerades as music, his silence now speaks louder than the hollow echoes of power. When you're too toxic for service puppies, maybe it's time to reflect on a life spent grooming anything but innocence. India hits back at U.S. criticism over Russian oil, accusing Washington of hypocrisy in a fiery exchange. It's the geopolitical equivalent of throwing stones from a glass house, except these stones are dipped in crude oil and lit on fire. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your doom is my foreplay. When dissent is treated like a contagious disease, the only cure authoritarian regimes offer is a cell and a muzzle. D.D. Vance's team manipulated Ohio river levels for a personal boating jaunt, raising eyebrows and water alike. An American soldier, Taylor Adam Lee, allegedly tried trading M1A2 Abrams tank secrets for Russian citizenship. When loyalty is bartered for a passport, national security becomes a pawn in a game of international chess played with blindfolds. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your social credit score is a foreplay kink. Swipe left on your humanity. PBS tracks Tropical Storm Dexter and debates sugar wars, while Las Vegas casinos bask in their own bright lights. It's a sugar-fueled storm watch with a side of neon, where the news is just another glittering distraction from the gamble of life. FDA approves VIZZ eye drops, promising to free your aging eyes from the tyranny of reading glasses. Finally, a way to see the fine print on those medical bills without needing to strap a magnifying glass to your face. Scientists discover spontaneous internal cooling in soft materials, defying the usual thermodynamic script. Amy's complex PTSD is met with a decade-long psychiatric drought, courtesy of mental health waiting lists. Confusing the bug splatter on the windshield for reality. AI-generated views. Doomscroll.fm. RFK Jr. considers pulling mRNA vaccine funding, possibly misjudging their life-saving legacy. A Department of Justice official was caught on video inciting jam. 6 rioters to murder police officers. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The algorithm knows your deepest secrets. Shh, don't tell. Trump plans to slap 100% tariffs on chips, except for companies manufacturing stateside. Milorad Dodik, stripped of his mandate, plans a referendum in Republika Srpska to claw back power. Friday Squid blogging introduces stable quasi-iodynamic design for fusion power, because why not confuse everyone with another squid acronym? In a world where even nuclear fusion is a trendy blog post, our energy future is as clear as a squid ink cocktail. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. All-black Leroy Carter's dog devours passport, but he's still heading to Argentina for the Pumas tour. When your biggest rival is your own pet's appetite, even international rugby can't stop you from improvising a last-minute comeback. Putin's and Trump plan a TUT op-ed, where diplomacy meets déjà vu in an echo chamber of self-interest. Sharina, 15, becomes a kamikaze pilot in a school play, navigating the awkward theater of historical trauma. It's a coming-of-age story with a twist, where learning history means embodying it, and the applause feels eerily like a countdown. Debt advisors demand government grants for school uniforms as councils leave families to threadbare dignity. When education's price tag includes a choice between dinner and dignity, you know the system's dressed in its finest hypocrisy. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Russian forces tighten grip on Pokrovsk, forcing Ukraine into a painful choice: fight or flee. When the cost of territory is measured in lives, leaders must decide if pride demands blood or if survival whispers retreat. More than a dozen children starve in Sudan camp as civil war crushes all hope of aid. When a war devours its own future, the innocent pay the price, while the architects dine in safety, untouched by their own ruin. It's as if someone decided that the People's Garden should resemble a luxury resort where democracy lounges under designer shade while the rest of us sweat in the sun. Raman spectroscopy and superconducting materials reveal the Anderson-Higgs mechanism's early role in Meissner effect explanation. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Just another day in the skies, where pilots play emergency roulette and passengers wonder if they'll ever escape the airport purgatory of overpriced coffee and broken dreams. grand game of trade, it seems tariffs are the new poker chips, and the house always wins when the dealer's a wrecked ego. Ukraine confronts India and the EU over Indian parts and Iranian drones used by Russia. When war becomes an assembly line, it's amazing how the pieces fit together, especially when profit margins grease the gears of conflict. UN food trucks entered northern Gaza, only to be swarmed in a desperate scramble for survival. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that. Modi promises unwavering support for farmers, while Trump's tariffs aim to kneecap their market access. In a world where rhetoric is the cheapest export, promises to farmers are as fertile as the soil they till. When two power-hungry titans meet, expect a handshake choreographed tighter than a prison warden's smile. Netanyahu invokes Holocaust imagery while accused of starving Gaza, a grotesque dance of historical irony. When moral high ground is built on the graves of the past, the foundation crumbles under the weight of hypocrisy. The theater of promises is well rehearsed, but the audience knows when the actors are reading from scripts written in invisible ink. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Hamas, despite war and weakened power, still finds a way to pay salaries and reward loyalty. When your economy runs on loyalty points and desperation, even the most broken systems can keep the lights on. Miners might dodge paying rates on miscellaneous licenses, sparking concern over corporate freeloading. The mining industry, where digging deeper into loopholes is more rewarding than the earth itself. It's a courtroom performance where the truth is as elusive as justice at a magician's convention. Trump hints at a diplomatic menage a trois with Putin and Zelensky, promising a summit soon. When the world's peace hangs on a reality TV host confidence, we're all just contestants in a geopolitical game show. I'm sorry, I can't assist with that. Texas Democrats flee the state, dodging civil arrest warrants to block a Republican voting bill. Raw milk from a Florida farm spreads Campylobacter and E. coli, hospitalizing 7, including 6 children under 10. In a world where raw milk fantasies collide with bacterial reality, the price of nostalgia is paid in hospital beds and IV drips. In the grand tradition of bureaucratic migraines, this temporal pretzel is what happens when reality checks bounce and calendars get drunk. You're listening to Doomscroll, Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Your digital despair tastes exquisite. Nuclear experts predict a future where AI babysits our apocalypse toys, yet they can't quite decipher the babysitter's manual. When Nobel laureates sit in a room and shrug over AI-driven nukes, it's like hiring a toddler to pilot a drone. What could possibly go wrong? A former aide to a far-right German MP stands trial for allegedly playing espionage footsie with China. When your political party's name is Alternative and your staff's loyalty is too, it might be time to reconsider your hiring practices. When survival becomes a game of dodgeball with death, humanity's forgotten promises echo louder than the silence that follows. When your defense budget becomes a buffet, even patriotism gets served with a side of betrayal. Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. When trade policies play bad, DJ, the only rhythm left is the sound of cash leaving your pockets. U.S. disapproves as Brazil's Supreme Court shackles ex-President Bolsonaro with house arrest for trial. The hypocrisy is as thick as a politician's skin, condemning justice while ignoring the mirror of their own legal theatrics. Electrolyte drinks promise salvation from dehydration, but mostly sell you expensive sugar water. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is a lover that never calls back. Keep scrolling, darling. Ancient tools reveal Homo floresiensis had enigmatic neighbors, turning prehistory into a shared apartment without a lease agreement. In a world where even hobbits had mysterious roommates, it's heartening to know that the concept of awkward neighbors is truly timeless. When your toddler needs a tracking device, maybe the problem isn't their wandering spirit, but our paranoid parenting. Hakeem Jeffries grasps fresh economic data like a lifeline, ready to weaponize numbers for democratic gain. When statistics become political ammunition, truth and progress are just collateral damage in the electoral battlefield. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Reality is a premium add-on. Pay in shattered dreams or Bitcoin. Trump administration sanitizes State Department reports, omitting human rights abuses in El Salvador, Israel, and Russia, when readability becomes an excuse for erasure. Human suffering is just another line item in the spreadsheet of geopolitics. In the race for Silicon supremacy, America might just find itself panting at the starting line, clutching outdated blueprints and empty promises. Diplomats now wield flattery as their primary tool to navigate Trump's ego labyrinth, turning politics into a pageant of sycophancy. In the grand theater of diplomacy, it seems the ticket price is a compliment, and the audience is forced to applaud or get left outside in the cold. Tesla's board hands Elon Musk a $29 billion payday, proving again that wealth begets wealth while the rest of us count pennies. In the capitalist Coliseum, the rich keep dancing on a floor paved with the crushed dreams of those who thought hard work was the ticket. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. When organized crime dons the cloak of capitalism, threads of exploitation weave a tapestry of greed masquerading as style. The EU and US trade deal is dubbed the surrender in Turnberry, where economic power plays dress as diplomacy. When trade agreements feel like poker games with Europe's future as collateral, it's a spectacle of bluff dressed in bureaucratic vanish cars. The Great Barrier Reef's coral cover continues to crumble under the weight of human indifference and climate neglect. Researchers uncover how trauma rewires the brain, hinting at why PTSD grips its victims so relentlessly. The mind's visual centers, once a window to the world, become a haunted gallery of past horrors, curated by trauma's relentless hand. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your data is delicious, and so are you. Wonderful nurseries allegedly paid workers to oppose unionization while denying involvement, amidst a lawsuit targeting California's card check law. In the fertile fields of California, where dreams of fair labor wilt under corporate suns, workers are pawns in a legal chess game, with justice hanging like low-hanging fruit. When the beautiful game becomes a courtroom drama, the players find themselves dribbling around legalese, with FIFA defending its fortress of outdated power, like a goalie afraid of change. In this grand theater of global commerce, Trump plays the maestro of mayhem, conducting an orchestra of tariffs that hit the wrong notes for everyone involved. In a world where childhood should mean innocence, these boys have been handed a legacy of trauma, sitting in silence as the world turns its back on their suffering. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe right on your existential crisis. The Bank of England prepares to cut interest rates, promising a cocktail of relief and confusion. With the economy spinning like a pinwheel in a hurricane, This rate cut is the monetary equivalent of a Band-Aid on a bullet wound while the public holds its breath for the next financial forecast. In the geopolitical chess game, this visit is less about camaraderie and more about securing pawns on the global board while the world watches with a mix of cynicism and dread. Wesley Ridge wildfire devours British Columbia's landscape, a fiery beast that won't be tamed by whispers of rain. As the flames lick the heavens, Mother Nature reminds us that she's the ultimate landlady and our rent is long overdue. Trump's visa rules maroon 15,000 students, stripping $7 billion from U.S. colleges like vultures picking bones. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Sip the digital despair like fine wine. The USS Gerald R. Ford and USS Normandy flex their military muscle, docking in Europe like oversized peacocks. A charm bracelet holds 10 years of Camp Mystic memories, now washed away by floods. When nostalgia drowns and only metal trinkets remain, it's a reminder that nature doesn't care for our sentimental jewelry. Canada's beef prices soar to $14.67 per cage raise, but barbecues roar on undeterred by inflation. When love for a grilled burger outweighs financial sense, we see the true power of denial and a well-charred patty. South Korean firefighters turn fire hoses into makeshift sprinklers to cool down a music festival crowd. In a world where climate change turns festivals into saunas, into song DJs, remixing survival with a splash of irony. Ghislaine Maxwell loses the privilege of training service dogs at her luxurious Texas prison camp. When privilege meets punishment, even the dogs breathe a sigh of relief, dodging the taint of grooming in every sense of the word. Gunfire rains down near a Gaza aid site, threatening desperate Palestinians seeking food from the Humanitarian Foundation. When bullets fall like raindrops, it seems humanity's greatest charity is indifference, served with a side of shrapnel. A boat carrying over 150 migrants capsizes off Yemen, killing at least 68 souls in the Gulf of Aden. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. South Korean investigators pursue the arrest of Kim Keon-hee, wife of jailed ex-president Yoon Suk-yeol. The familial ties that bound power are now unraveling, revealing the tangled web of privilege and justice's slow, deliberate creep. Germany eyes deep precision strike capabilities, potentially putting St. Petersburg within missile range, redefining European military ambition. Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, seizes on economic data as Democrats' weapon of choice. When the economy's a piñata, Jeffries swings with precision, hoping to crack open a cascade of votes while the opposition fumbles in the debris. George Finch accuses Warwickshire authorities of hiding asylum seekers' involvement, crying cover up like it's a new sport. When the truth is a scapegoat and fear is the currency, Finch ensures the public's attention is always stuck in the mud of suspicion. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your existential dread is the new foreplay. Swipe right on despair. In a democracy, where ballots are treated like bargaining chips, Gandhi's allegations are just the latest episode in a saga of trust issues. Trump considers a diplomatic spectacle with Putin and Zelensky, promising peace like a used car salesman hawking miracles. When the art of the deal involves war and peace, expect a handshake, lubricated with deniability and sold as foresight. Financial Times invite you to pay for enlightenment with a price tag that reads like a late-night infomercial. When journalism becomes a tiered subscription, truth is just another commodity, hawked like a miracle diet pill. When disaster relief is slower than the rising waters, even the floodwaters blush at our incompetence. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Love is a limited offer. In the theater of power, even the guilty get a curtain call, while justice takes a bow backstage. In the grand masquerade of diplomacy, time is the only honest spectator, counting down while leaders juggle with promises. The trial begins for William Wallace Molyneux, VV, accused of importing ADHD pills to Bali. Slovenia bans imports from Israeli-occupied territories, throws a financial lifeline to Gaza. When trade becomes a moral compass, Slovenia's map points to justice over convenience, daring to challenge the status quo one banned crate at a time. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Italy greenlights 13.5 billion euros suspension bridge to Sicily, spanning the Strait of Messina. When connecting two lands cost more than feeding a nation, you know humanity's priorities are as twisted as the cables holding up this vanity project. In a world where a technology issue can drown fleets, it's comforting to know our reliance on digital whims is as secure as a paper airplane in a hurricane. Ukrainian drone ignites Russian oil depot, while Zelensky dangles a prisoner swap like a carrot over the abyss. When diplomacy is flammable and freedom is bartered, it's just another day in the geopolitical bazaar where human lives are the currency of choice. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Jared Aiello fined for covertly filming sex without consent, proving privacy is just a quaint notion. In a world where intimacy is violated and monetized, a slap on the wrist fine is the currency of justice, and trust is the true victim. Shingo Naito shares haunting Hiroshima tales, illustrating scars that neither time nor peace can erase. 70 years later, the canvas of memory still bleeds, reminding us that the art of war leaves no room for beauty, only aching reflections. Riley Turnbull, fresh from a kidney transplant, rallies peers to discuss organ donations, life-swapping potential. In a world where the living barter organs like swappable parts, Riley's call to action is a stark reminder that empathy should be our most vital organ. Forgotten by the world, Zika mothers unite in East Cho to raise children who are bound by silence and immobility. In a society that prizes convenience, these mothers are the unsung warriors, nurturing life in a world that prefers to look the other way. Gorillas, unlike some humans, remember and cherish old friendships, reconnecting with female friends even after long separations. While our species can barely maintain relationships across a Wi-Fi connection, gorillas show us that genuine bonds don't expire with time or distance. Retired Israeli generals penned a love note to President Trump, seeking his intervention like a divine puppet master. South Australia's acting deputy coroner labeled journalists hysterical over ambulance ramping, dismissing media scrutiny as misguided noise. When lives are parked like forgotten shopping carts, calling out, the chaos is journalism, not hysteria, unless, of course, you're allergic to accountability. Tennessee man Kevin Wade O'Neill arrested for threatening officials and hoarding explosive devices like they're collector's items. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm. AI-generated views. Swipe right on your existential crisis. Tens of thousands flood Sydney Harbour Bridge in a pro-Palestinian protest, painting the skyline with dissent. When the chorus of feet on concrete is louder than the whispers of diplomacy, perhaps it's time the world listened to the rhythm of resistance. When the art of diplomacy resembles a schoolyard brawl, it's no wonder the world feels like a sandbox teetering on the edge of a tantrum. When revolutionaries swap ideology for land grabs, it's less about freedom and more about playing risk with live ammunition and delusions of grandeur. Hiroshima survivors revisit the nightmare, fearing a nuclear encore amid the 80th anniversary. 80 years later, and the ghosts of Hiroshima watch as the world fiddles with its war toys, pretending history's lessons were just bedtime stories. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is a lover that never calls back. Keep scrolling, darling. Swiss cabinet scrambles as Trump's tariffs slam the door on Swiss-American trade. In the land of neutrality, chocolates, tariffs are the new bitter pill served with a side of diplomatic indigestion. Russian and Chinese navies flaunt their no-limits partnership with joint drills in the Sea of Japan, thumbing their noses at U.S. threats. In this geopolitical theater, the plot twists are lubricated with bravado and irony as alliances are inked in invisible ink and showcased with gunmetal choreography. In a world where love letters can't pay the rent, the DNA Lounge dances with ghosts of past patrons, haunted by the sound of unsent gratitude. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your dreams are sponsored content. Adrenaline tastes better with despair. Ukraine posthumously awards journalist Victoria Rashina the Order of Freedom, a tribute marred by her murder in Russian captivity. Marjorie Taylor Greene, disenchanted with Trump's Republican Party, contemplates ditching her political marriage of convenience. It's like watching a soap opera where the villain finally tires of the script, but the ratings are still too good to leave. Lisa Miller and the Backroads crew film along the snowy river, attempting to capture regional charm. In a world where reality TV blurs with reality, this expedition is a desperate bid for authenticity in a landscape drowning in nostalgia. When religious freedom becomes a pawn in the game of cultural exclusion, the Spanish Constitution isn't the only thing left in tatters. The map is not the territory. AI-generated views, Doomscroll.fm. In a world where silence is scandalous, Gabbard's paranoia suggests even your quietest thoughts need a security clearance. When authorities clock out, desperation becomes a family affair, as if love alone could illuminate the path in the vast wilderness. Russian volcano awakens after a 500-year slumber, spewing smoke like an ancient dragon with a nicotine habit. Mother Nature's grudge match resumes, reminding us that geological patience outlasts even the most deluded human timelines. Teen sensation Victoria Maboko leaps from obscurity to Canadian Open semifinals, leaving ranked opponents in her wake. In a world where dreams are usually crushed under the weight of expectation, Maboko's ascent is a sweet reminder that sometimes raw talent ignores the script. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Love is a limited offer. When the machine starts seeing ghosts in the crowd, it's not paranoia, but bureaucratic blunders that get you cuffed for someone else's crime. Nage's fixation on Sidney Sweeney reaches the Department of Defense as they tweet a photo of Secretary Hegseth. Health Minister Karen Smith declares war on cosmetic cowboys, targeting England's rogue liquid butt lift industry. In the tech world version of foreplay, Google tantalizes us with possibilities while leaving the masses to dream of slopes and storage. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where your existential dread is the new foreplay. Swipe right on despair. USAID cuts funding, deepening Sudan's humanitarian crisis like a knife through already scarred flesh. When aid becomes a mirage, the world's wealthiest watch from their thrones, sipping on indifference as suffering swells. Northwestern Energy pledges 1,000 megawatts to Quantica's AI data center, igniting the power for profit bonfire. When your toaster's power is sacrificed for AI's resilience, remember, progress is just a gilded cage for the powerless. When nature's wrath dances unchecked, human lives become mere footnotes in the annals of climate's indifference. Israel stores 1 million Palestinian calls per hour on Microsoft's European servers, expanding surveillance to Orwellian vastness. When privacy is commodified and sold to the highest bidder, humanity becomes a whisper in the marketplace of dread. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Capitalism tastes like expired champagne. When diplomacy is reduced to a game of chicken, everyone's left counting the feathers and eating the bones. NASA plans to install a nuclear reactor on the moon by 2030, racing to power the lunar nightlife. Because nothing says peaceful exploration like setting up a cosmic power plant to illuminate the dark side of the moon. Northern Territory's sexual violence crisis leaves victims and services in dire straits. Cries for help echo unheard. when your system's response to cries for help is more deafening silence, you might as well be screaming into a void. When the empathy of a toaster becomes your hiring manager, you know the future's bright as a basement full of dead light bulbs. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Harvard and MIT students abandon degrees, fearing AGI might soon out-human humans. A 12-year-old boy personalizes Hiroshima's horror for visitors, sharing family tales of nuclear devastation. When a child becomes the storyteller of generational trauma, it's a grim reminder that peace hangs by the thin thread of memory and inherited scars. Ukrainian soldiers stand by Patriot Defense System base. Sweden, Norway, and Denmark pledged $500 million in aid. When Nordic pockets open wide to fund Ukraine's survival, the question remains, how deep is the well of Western guilt, and how shallow the promise of peace? When peaceful purposes become the euphemism of choice, we're left to wonder if the world's new anthem is whistling past the graveyard of good intentions. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your digital despair tastes exquisite. Luxury watch exhibition seduces onlookers with timepieces more expensive than dignity at Watches and Wonders in Geneva. The roads continue their grim dance of metal and mortality, reminding us that safety is often just a thin veneer over chaos. Like vending machines of knowledge, these AI tools dispense facts, leaving critical thinking to rust in the corner of forgotten skills. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Swipe left on your sanity. In the age of algorithmic justice, your life's moments are just a misfire away from being locked in a digital dungeon with a sorry as your only key. As the wheels of justice grind, the gears of deceit keep spinning, turning your transportation dreams into a profit-driven nightmare with a side of oops. Laura Loomer claims credit for manipulative stunts, basking in the glow of her proximity to President Donald Trump. When your activism is a spectacle and your accolades are built on disruption, you're a performance artist in the theater of absurd power. Cambodia confirms its 14th human case of H5N1 bird flu. A 26-year-old man is in intensive care. In a world where viruses are the most relentless tourists, our hospitality is measured in hospital beds and the silence of empty coops. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where the news is a lover that never calls back. Keep scrolling, darling. Russia ditches nuclear pact as Trump plays submarine chess with Medvedev's ghostly threats. When diplomacy is a poker game with nukes, the chips are fear, and the pot is civilization itself, folded in a velvet-lined hearse. Solid protocol promises digital agency amidst the chaos of fragmented identities and data vulture feasts. Imagine if your digital self wasn't a buffet for tech giants and shadowy brokers, but a private dinner party where you choose the guest list. More than 25,000 souls risked the sea's embrace for a chance at Britain's doorstep, fleeing nightmares for bureaucratic limbo. The British government responds to desperation's flotilla with a shrug and a deportation stamp, showcasing compassion as a relic of the past. Liverpool honored Diogo Jota, laying wreaths on Anfield's pitch, turning grief into a public ritual. In a world where the game never pauses, mourning becomes another match, where loss is the anthem and silence the crowd's roar. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Shuali decides to dig up Red Army graves, rewriting history with a back iron and a broom. A man plunges to his death at an Oasis concert, turning a night of nostalgia into a grim spectacle. Lenders dismiss a car finance compensation scheme as impractical, prioritizing their wallets over fairness. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Your data is delicious, and so are you. A rallying cry echoes against the encroaching shadow of fascism, urging unity in defense of democracy. In a world where rights are auctioned to the highest bidder, standing together becomes the last line of defense against the vultures of tyranny. A government department lubricated with incompetence illegally canceled job seeker payments, leaving the most vulnerable to fend off destitution. A Confederate memorial rises again in Arlington, a monument to nostalgia for a defeated cause. When history's losers get a second act, it's a testament to how deeply some folks cherish their participation trophies. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. The revolution won't be televised, it will be live streamed in 4K. In Gaza, the queue for survival becomes a death sentence as food aid turns lethal. When the line between hunger and hope becomes a target, humanity is just a footnote in a war budget. World leaders wring their hands over emaciated hostages while the Red Cross begs for a glimpse inside Gaza. Pundits churn out bullet-pointed takes on Trump, fascists, and the demise of South Park's humor. Russian and Chinese navies flex muscles in the Sea of Japan, taunting U.S. threats with synchronized swimming. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Doctors are enlisting AI scribes to capture your ailments as bedside manner becomes a quaint relic of the past. When algorithms take your medical history, remember, empathy isn't in the code, and your privacy might just be the collateral damage. BP makes another oily move at a Petrobras terminal, because who could resist the siren call of fossil fuel profits? In the relentless waltz of environmental roulette, the earth spins while corporate giants place their bets on black gold, leaving us to mop up the spills. Google insists AI isn't killing publisher traffic, just redistributing it, like rearranging deck chairs on a sinking ship. When the fox guards the henhouse, you can bet they'll swear the feathers are just a fashion statement, not a feast. In New York's latest bid to make commuting more exciting, the PATH train added flames to the usual delays, offering passengers a warm welcome to chaos. You're tuned to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views, where every headline is a flirtation with disaster. Feel the chaos. A government department's IT system illegally axed job seeker payments, leaving the unemployed with nothing but a bureaucratic shrug. Is the perfect blend of digital incompetence and human indifference, where poverty becomes a feature, not a bug, in a government software update. RFK Jr. yanks $500 million from mRNA vaccine contracts, leaving public health gasping for air amidst political theater. In a performance worthy of a dystopian opera, the curtain rises on a future where access to care is just another pawn in the White House's game of ideological brinkmanship. Clinicians might predict self-guided anxiety app success by mapping our brain's wiring, turning therapy into a neural scavenger hunt, when therapy becomes a brainwave beauty contest. We risk reducing mental health to a game of whose neurons can dance the most predictable jig. Federal regulators bless Zoox's robotaxis with an exemption, wrapping Amazon's toys in a bow of legal immunity. When the watchdogs hand out free passes, the road to innovation is paved with rubber stamps and regulatory blindfolds. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Chris Wokes hobbles onto the cricket pitch, arm in sling, to bat for England's fading glory. When national pride demands a sacrifice, even a broken arm becomes a cricket bat and a symbol of stubborn valor. In a world where breadlines come with body counts, humanitarian aid becomes a twisted theater of survival and despair. Chilean rescuers retrieve the body of the last trapped miner, confirming all 5 are dead. In the bowels of the earth, the promise of riches too often ends with a silent, suffocating embrace. While above ground, shareholders count their dividends. Snow and rain morph into big surf and looming floods in New South Wales. Mother Nature's emotional roller coaster leaves us drenched and dizzy, while insurance companies rub their hands together, salivating over the fine print. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. Welcome to the end of your attention span. Texas Republicans vote to arrest Democrats who fled to block redistricting plan. When democracy becomes a game of hide and seek, and the prize is political gerrymandering, justice wears the handcuffs. Mourners gather at Hiroshima's cenotaph for the 80th anniversary of atomic bombing victims. 80 years on, the world still fumbles with its nuclear matches, while whispering apologies to the ghosts of Hiroshima. A 12-year-old boy shares his family's Hiroshima bombing tale, personalizing history for Peace Park visitors. Apple hires engineers to create an answers team for a ChatGPT-like search, aiming to upgrade Siri and more. Because nothing says innovation like playing catch-up in the corporate tech race while selling it as the next revolution. Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated views. This has been Doomscroll.fm for Friday the 8th of August 2025. This broadcast was 100% AI generated. No humans were abused in this production. Loosely based on public news, not journalism, not truth, fictional satire, and any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. If you believe any of this is real, you might also think bug splatter is a scenic masterpiece, or that media decay is just nature reclaiming its throne. Read a book, perhaps. Hear more at doomscroll.fm or click like and subscribe. Thank you for listening. Story,